Hello and welcome back to our second introduction lesson on AutoCAD 2007 for 3D. And we're going to start this lesson off by just touching back on our workspace lesson. Now I've got some toolbars set up the way I want and my environment set up the way I want. I've got my workspace toolbar docked up here. First of all, even though if I hit my workspace settings and I've set automatically save workspace changes instead of do not save changes, and I've got those in there, and I've got my workspace set up so that I can hit my workspace button here. I'm actually going to go a step further, and I'm going to click on here and I'm going to go save current as, and I'm going to click on here and say save it as CAD clips and hit save, just to show that you can, save it again just and overwrite it. Now, if I go back to my AutoCAD Classic and I'm expecting a bit of an error here and I go back to, I'll just hit my workspace button there. Okay, you'll notice that the modeling tab and the visuals, visual style is okay, but I notice that the modeling one keeps switching back to be horizontal. So I'm not sure what's causing that. So that's just a little kind of glitch in there. But the main thing is my workspace settings, and then save stuff inside of here. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the solids themselves and some primitives, which are these objects over here. And I'm going to zoom out here a little bit and just kind of talk about how they work and how grips are a huge improvement with solids finally, which is really nice. So we can start off with just our box command, and I'm going to switch over here to be a 3D isometric view. Seen this many times. We can click on here and we can type in numbers, and we can use our object snap and our object tracking, etc. to do this. Doesn't matter how we pick the points. And then I go in, start here, click. Again, doing a rectangle, I can use snaps and at and etc. and use my different depending on if I have dynamic input turned on, etc. But the main thing is I can draw that and then I can drag it up. Once I have that, I can grip on that solid object now, stretch it out. If you grab the square grip in the middle, we can move it, okay, depending on how you want to do that. And then, of course, depending on your visual style, click on here, you might be able to, move some objects around. Remember this guy over here, by hovering on there we can do that, etc. So now we can go and draw some more shapes as we saw before, and they all have kind of their own characteristics. Cone, draw them up, sphere, okay, a torus. Read the command line, specify center point here, specify radius or diameter here, and then the thickness of the wall there. Okay, M for move it over. Okay, pyramid, kind of like a square. Again, you can use your ortho if you want. Okay, you can also read your command and type in numbers, etc. along here. Got a new one over here, polysolid, which is kind of like drawing a wall. First thing we want to probably do is specify a height, H for height, and say I want it to be this high. And then I'm going to say W for width, and I want it to be, this wide. And then I can pick some points. The new polysolid command works really good. Oh, after all that, I hit escape too quickly. Good thing it remembers my settings. Enter. Hitting escape doesn't do it. Okay, switch between my different views. Okay, now what's interesting is if you take these and you move them around, you'll notice that they kind of blend in and out of the objects a lot nicer, so you can kind of tell that that's on the same elevation as that. Okay, if I move this from the end point of here to the end point of there, now when I move this around, it's not going to really interfere with anything because shift middle mouse button, okay, it was placed underneath that as I move it around. Okay, so let me undo that right back to its original location. So I can take this And as you move these objects through each other, you can see it's really nice that you can kind of tell visually where they are. So I don't know what to say. This is just huge improvements. Visually being able to see if things interfere. Okay, we can place that on there, hit escape. Okay, you can click on it and then you can grab these grips, okay, and you can move these around. Okay, this poly-solid in particular, you can do some really neat stuff with it because you can grab these grips and stretch the width factor, etc. like that. Okay, maybe bump that out like that. Okay, so poly-solid, this guy is just super fantastic tool that you can use to create whatever you want. Okay, other objects, depending on what you have, will depend on where your grips are with those objects. Okay, again, using your object snap, whatever you want. Add your materials later. Go in here, click on this. Okay, starting to look like what some pretty high-tech animation and 3D solid modeling softwares have had, and we're very grateful that Autodesk has now got on board with that. So we can use that. Okay, those are our primitives inside of here. We also have a helix. Pick on the helix. We're going to read our command line. Specify the center point here. Specify the base radius here. Specify the top radius here. Specify up. I don't know what else to say. That is just super fantastic. Okay, and then you can use these objects and extrude things around them and stuff. And again, that has grips. Okay, so I know, of course, mechanical people have great use for this type of thing. Okay, so there's just some of the primitive objects that come with AutoCAD 2007 in 3D, and we're going to work through some more of these over here. Again, this is the modeling toolbar. Right click, modeling. Okay, we're going to get into some more of these with our extrude and push pull and stuff like that, where you can go in and pull faces off and all kinds of great stuff like that. Push, pull, pick on here, pull that face out. Once you've done that push pull, you'll notice you'll lose your grips. Okay, I can go down to here and pick on this object, and I can grip it and do all kinds of great stuff with it. Once I go in here and use my push pull, pick that face, I can pull that face off, which is really nice. Okay, same as I can go over to here, pull this face off. Okay, once you've altered it from, I'm going to use shift middle mouse button here. Once you've altered the object, it loses all its great little primitive grips, and of course you can do other things with it as well. We're going to come back with the push-pull tool specifically, start to do some of the stuff. You want to have some good video memory as well, so you can see that there's our push-pull, which is starting to look like what some other 3D applications have had for a long time. So once again, thanks to Autodesk for taking and bringing this into us. So back to wireframe. Let's go back to our top view. That's again just an intro. We're going to do some more stuff on this as we move through these lessons. So solid primitives and some grips. Okay, and there's our toolbar. The dashboard. If we go up here to tools, okay, palettes, the dashboard palette specifically, and again we can have our auto hide turned on or off with this just like any other palette. Okay, the dashboard has a set of control panels. If we right click on here, we go to control panels. There's a 2D drafting, a 3D make, 3D navigation, visual styles, lighting, materials, rendering. Okay, those are all available. These are these individual panels that we see over here. And once again, this is just an introduction. We're not going to go into great detail with this. We're going to come back and revisit. But you'll notice a lot of this stuff here is repeated basically from over here. This is the modeling toolbar over here. This is the 2D. You see that all our 2D drafting. This is our 2D drafting, and then we have different flyouts if there's not enough room to show all the objects on that individual toolbar. So the dashboard, again, tools, palettes, dashboard, which is what we're seeing here, is a control panel of toolbars. Okay, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I believe. Let's check. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can't really add or remove to this, but you can, at least in this generation, probably in the next version of AutoCAD, you will be able to. So what you can do is if you click over here, you might see a flyout where you can get some more additional tools. Okay, you'll see this on all of the control panels of the dashboard. Okay, so if you don't want to see one, for instance this one, the 2D one, right click, control panel, turn it off. We see some tools and we can go in and use this. Okay, we can also have our flyout inside of here. We can take that, we can allow docking, okay, and then maybe take that and, you know, dock it over on the side of my screen over here. If you've got lots of screen space, which I don't have right now with the resolution of the video capture software. But again, people with nice big screens, we put our dashboard over there and then away you go. Right click, allow docking, take it off. And we'll return to the dashboard a lesson specifically, and we'll get in and use all kinds of this stuff inside of here. You can hover, visual styles, lighting control panel. So, you know, in a sense, it's redundant because there's already palettes and toolbars. It's just kind of a one-stop dashboard is what this is for. And again, we can turn it on and off by using here. So there's our dashboard, lots of good stuff inside of there. You can't modify the palettes on there, but you can turn them on and off. New option settings, we already talked about a little bit. We can go up here and go to Tools, Options, or we can right click in our command line and say Options. Okay, some 3D stuff inside of here. Okay, I went through a little bit quicker. Walk and fly settings, animation settings, okay, ISO lines and stuff like that, different 3D object settings. Visual style while creating 3D objects. Okay, you can create different visual styles we'll talk about. User preferences. I always say take a look through all of these at the beginning of every release of AutoCAD and see what's different and experiment, try some stuff out. Okay, go in and hit the help menu because, of course, if you're inside of 3D modeling and you hit help, it'll tell you about what's inside of here. If you're inside of here and you hit help, it'll tell you about what's inside of here. So sit back, maybe grab a coffee or a tea and hit help and go through and kind of read some of this stuff up. So some new options. Okay. Visual styles, and we've seen, and one thing we can do is go into our visual style manager inside of here, and these visual styles you're seeing are these visual styles over here, and you can make new visual styles, apply to current viewport, create new visual styles. So now you can take and create your own visual style. You can go in here, and we'll do this later. You can add jittering so you can get an effect so that, you know, you're getting a jittering effect with those on edge modifiers. Okay, so you can add those in. Okay, and you can click on here and see some more options as well. Okay, we'll come back and get to this. So we can we've seen this in other CAD softwares where you basically make all your lines look kind of squiggly, which is very nice for any sort of, you know, you want to make it look kind of napkin sketched or whatever you want, and this works in 2D or 3D. So jittering medium, well, maybe we'll make jittering high. Okay, and then go to here and export. Where do we want? Apply to current. So there is added some jittering. So look at what it's done to the text. It's made the text that way. And it's also taken our 3D objects over here. Let me turn my auto hide on. Okay, I've turned jittering on in this particular visual style. Okay, if I even go to my 3D view, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's jittering turned up high instead of low or medium. Okay, and you can do some really neat stuff. Go back to my 3D hidden line. Okay, depending on which visual style I go to, and that one happened to be my conceptual style. If I go back inside of here, okay, that was and we can hover over these and it'll tell us there's conceptual. Okay, that's the one I just changed. Well, maybe I'll go back to conceptual and say, you know, Jittering is medium, high, medium. And you can space, put some numbers inside of here and all kinds of great stuff. Have a look. The only way you learn is try it out, and then hit our apply button. And there's our new visual style. So this is really neat for the architects for obvious reason, to make it look kind of hand-drawn. But for whatever reason, I'm going to start using this. I already have. Okay. So a little bit about visual styles. Okay. Visual style, don't get that mixed up with your actual workspace. Okay, workspace sets up the appearance. Visual style is the way these objects, your modeling objects, appear. That's controlled with visual styles. Go back down to here, and also notice that when you change from view to view, it doesn't change. Where you used to do a regen all the time. Now, if you want to actually go to 2D wireframe, you go to 2D wireframe, and you go back to conceptual style over there. Okay. So there's some visual styles, a little bit of jittering. Hit F1 anytime you want to start a command. If you want to know how the push-pull command works, start the push-pull command and then hit F1, and it'll start up your help and it'll go straight to that command. Okay, this has always been there. This has been typical of AutoCAD for many, many releases. So anytime you want help on something, start the command, go over here and say loft, and then hit F1. And then there it is. It's going to give you some information on how you do that. Different tools and stuff. Okay, so use your F1 and get some help. Profiles and the startup icon. All I want to talk about here is this an oldie but a goodie. Is when you start up your AutoCAD, and depending if you have architectural desktop or not, or however you want, if you right click on your AutoCAD startup icon and you go to the target field, you'll notice that there is you can go into there and you can place a /P, which loads a profile, and we put this in quotes. So if you have a profile, an AutoCAD profile saved, you can